The galaxy trembled under the heel of the Zargonian Empire. 379 worlds had knelt, crumbled under their invasive boots, each planet a grim repetition. The Shadow Fleet, colossal citadels of steel, descended from the void, swallowing the sky. The Vash legions, elite warriors forged in the crucible of war, swarmed like a plague, sowing terror and annihilation. In the blink of an eye, the most brilliant civilizations withered, prostrating themselves before the Zargonians' overwhelming technology and might. Photon armor, the technological marvel turning Zargonian warriors into invincible phantoms, death trailed in their wake. Plasma weapons, scythes of death pulverizing tanks to dust, turning cities into molten seas. Every empire, from the mighty Aldebaran Star League to the distant Centauri Galactic Republic, shuddered at the mere mention of the Zargonian name. Until they encountered Earth. Earth, a tiny blue marble, lonely amidst the vast cosmos, a forgotten planet on the fringes of the galaxy, not even gracing the Zargonian Empire's conquest maps. For Supreme Chancellor Voreth, architect of countless genocides, its existence was but a meaningless speck, a minor statistical error in the grand galactic tapestry. Enthroned upon his obsidian throne, inlaid with the bones of vanquished gods, Voreth issued the decree to invade Earth, an order delivered with utter indifference and contempt. He was certain it would be nothing more than a light hunt, a dull warm-up before conquering more interesting targets. Orbital scan report, Voreth commanded coldly, his voice echoing throughout the command deck of the flagship Annihilator. Supreme Chancellor, a young officer reported nervously. Scan complete. Target planet, Earth, no significant space fleets detected. No advanced planetary defense systems. Their technology is even more primitive than the Stone Age compared to Zargonian standards. Their weapons? General Grath, the notoriously brutal and arrogant old general, sneered with disdain. The holoscreen displayed images of rusty cannons, antiquated tanks, and ragtag human soldiers. That rifle, they're still using metal projectiles? How pathetic! The entire command deck erupted in derisive laughter, echoes of smugness and utter contempt. Voreth smirked faintly, a cold, cruel smile. Truly pathetic, he hissed. A civilization this primitive, they're no different from vermin. Deploy the Vash Legion. Crush all resistance. Reduce this planet to dust as a warning to anyone foolish enough to defy the Zargonian Empire. The order was given, cold and ruthless as a blade severing all hope. Thousands of drop ships, colossal metal beasts, tore through Earth's atmosphere, plunging down like a pack of starving wolves. They landed in a desolate desert region, a place their Zargonian translation software struggled to label as anything other than the middle of nowhere. According to scant intelligence reports, a small human military outpost was located there, defended by a ragtag group of soldiers armed with antiquated weaponry and questionable fighting spirit. Sir, a young officer, brimming with confidence, reported to Commander Krill, the invasion force's commanding officer. We estimate enemy resistance at this outpost to be no more than a platoon. A single Vash squad should be enough to wipe them out. Commander Krill, a towering, muscular Zargonian with eyes burning red like hot coals, nodded arrogantly. Very well. Squad Alpha, advance. Eradicate these vermin. Show them the true might of the Zargonian Empire. Squad Alpha, the most elite Vash warriors, disembarked from the drop ship, their silver armor gleaming under the desert sun. Plasma weapons hummed with deadly energy in their hands, ready to incinerate everything in their path. At the edge of the outpost, hidden behind sandbags and makeshift fortifications, Sergeant Hammer Harrison exhaled a thick plume of cigar smoke, squinting as he observed the approaching invasion force. Well, Davies, he drawled, his voice gravelly. Looks like the Zargis finally decided to show up for the party. Corporal Davies, a young man with a face smeared with dirt and sweat, shrugged, feigning indifference. Let's see what kind of show they put on. I bet they think this is some kind of parade, not a war. Took them ages to get here, slow as snails. He wiped his brow with the back of his hand, his eyes fixed on the approaching Zargonian force. The Zargonian force moved with perfect formation, discipline bordering on terrifying, without a sound, without a tremor. Commander Krill led the charge, striding proudly, confidently, as if walking a victory red carpet. When they were about 500 meters from the outpost, Krill raised his hand, signaling a halt. The voice synthesizer on his armor projected a threatening growl, echoing across the desert expanse. "Humans of planet Earth! You are trespassing on Zargonian Empire territory! Kneel and surrender immediately! Resistance is futile! We will crush you to dust!" Davies spat on the ground, muttering a curse under his breath. "Same old arrogant bullshit. Who do they think they are?" Hammer chuckled softly, straightening up, stepping in front of the outpost's defenses. He took off his aviator sunglasses, looking directly at the Zargonian commander, his expression fearless, even slightly mocking. "Listen up, you commander guy," he said, his voice nonchalant as if it were just another day. "Your name's Krill, right? Or Crawl? Whatever, doesn't matter. Listen, Krill. You ain't the first big shot empire comin' around here tellin' us to kneel. This old Earth's seen plenty of self-proclaimed great empires come and go. And you know what the endin' always is? They all get their asses kicked out of here, or they end up as dust. We humans don't take kindly to kneel in, especially not to a bunch of space bugs like you." Krill's teeth gritted, his red eyes flashing with rage. You dare insult the Zargonian Empire? You dare compare us to vermin? You will pay for your arrogance. Soldiers! Eradicate them! Leave no one alive! He roared like a wounded beast. The Zargonian soldiers simultaneously raised their weapons, plasma rifles glowing brightly, ready to unleash hell. "Davies, Ramirez! Show time!" Hammer yelled, stomping his cigar butt into the sand. "Let's show them what human primitive weapons can do!" Davies cackled maniacally, a savage, excited laugh. "Been waitin' for this, Sarge!" He placed his hand on the trigger of the Browning M2, his finger tightening. Ramirez, too, was in position, his M240B machine gun ready to fire. Thump! 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 The .50 caliber Browning M2 roared, tearing apart the once quiet desert air. The sound of gunfire was deafening, violent, drowning out all other sounds. The first round, a 211 Malawin Quachas Rafus round, the most powerful armor-piercing round in the world, ripped through the air at supersonic speed, slamming straight into the chest plate of a vanguard Zargonian soldier. And then, all hell broke loose. Not a small explosion, not a flash of light, but a catastrophic, devastating eruption, as if a heavy bomb had detonated right in the middle of the Zargonian formation. The vanguard soldier vanished in a hellish violet inferno, photon armor, praised as invincible, shattering like paper, flying through the air in fragments. The sheer kinetic energy of the .50 caliber round, that primitive, human weapon, had ripped the Zargonian soldier to a million pieces, leaving nothing but a pool of bloody mist and shattered armor shards. Round after round, the bullets continued to fly, sowing terror and annihilation. The Zargonian formation disintegrated, shattered. The Vash warriors, the pride of the Empire, the self-proclaimed harbingers of galactic death, now fell like puppets with cut strings. Not falling in glorious combat, but exploding into pieces, vanishing into bloody mist, or torn in half, guts spilling out onto the sand. The Browning M2, that weapon the Zargonians had mocked as obsolete, had turned the battlefield into a horrifying abattoir, a nightmare scenario for any invader. Commander Krill watched the unfolding scene with horror. What in the galaxy is this?" he screamed, his voice cracking with terror and disbelief. "Their weapons, are their weapons magic?" He had never, ever witnessed any weapon capable of penetrating Zargonian photon armor so easily and so brutally. The Zargonian plasma weapons, weapons of mass destruction, designed to incinerate, to melt, but this primitive, human weapon, it tore apart, pulverized, destroyed everything in its path. It wasn't a weapon, it was a force of nature unleashed. Panic spread like wildfire through the Zargonian ranks. The Vash warriors, the harbingers of galactic death, those who knew no fear, were now truly terrified. They discarded their advanced plasma weapons, fleeing in disarray, trying to escape the devastating rain of bullets from the human machine gun. The Zargonian front lines completely collapsed. Krill, in the chaos, desperately tried to contact the flagship Annihilator, his voice cracking with terror and despair. "Command! Command! We are under heavy attack! The human weapons, they're too powerful! Our armor can't withstand them! We need reinforcements! Reinforcements immediately!" His screams were drowned out by the roar of the Browning M2 and the excited shouts of the Earth soldiers. The communication link was severed. On the command deck of the flagship Annihilator, Supreme Chancellor Vorith and his generals watched the horrifying scene unfold on the holoscreen, speechless with shock. The Vash Legion, the pride of the Empire, melting like ice under the sun. "What is this weapon?" Vorith roared again, his voice hoarse with rage and astonishment. The entire command deck was silent as a tomb. No one dared to answer. No one knew the answer. "Supreme Chancellor, they're retreating," General Grass stammered, pointing at the screen. Indeed, the Zargonian remnants were fleeing in disarray, abandoning weapons and comrades alike, desperately trying to escape the relentless rain of fire. Vorith grit his teeth, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "Halt the attack! Summon the War Council! Immediately!" he ordered, his voice trembling with rage and helplessness. He needed an explanation, a rational explanation for this humiliating defeat. How could a bunch of primitive weapon-wielding barbarians defeat the elite Zargonian army? How could their primitive weapons penetrate photon armor, something no energy weapon in the galaxy could achieve? The War Council convened urgently in an atmosphere of suffocating tension and oppression. Admiral Valerius, commander of the invasion fleet, entered the war room, his face ashen, sweat dripping. "Supreme Chancellor," he reported, his voice trembling. We have failed. The Vash Legion is completely annihilated." "Explain!" Vorith roared, his eyes blazing with fury. "You said this would be an easy conquest. You said the humans were just weak barbarians. And yet, what's the result? We lost. We were defeated by a bunch of vermin." Admiral Valerius bowed his head, his voice bitter and helpless. "Supreme Chancellor, I was wrong. We underestimated the humans. Their weapons, they utilize kinetic energy. Metal projectiles, supersonic speed. Our armor cannot withstand it." "Metal projectiles?" Vorith almost screamed. "You're telling me we lost because of metal projectiles?" The entire room fell silent as a grave. No one dared to believe it. The Zargonian Empire, with millennia of technological superiority, with an invincible army, was defeated by metal projectiles? It was absurd. It was humiliating. But Supreme Chancellor, Dr. Varkos, the Empire's chief scientist, spoke up, his voice weak and worried. "Their weapons, though primitive, are incredibly effective. Our armor is designed to resist energy, not kinetic energy. That is our fatal weakness." "Fatal weakness?" Vorith gritted his teeth. "Then fix it. I want solutions. Immediately." "We are researching," Dr. Vakos replied, his voice trembling. "We are trying to develop new armor, capable of absorbing and dispersing kinetic energy. But this process will take time, a lot of time. Time is not something we have." Vorith sighed, looking out into the dark expanse of space, where his fleet hovered like wounded, broken, and helpless beasts. "Humans, they may not be technologically advanced, but they have something we have lost." "What is it, Supreme Chancellor?" General Grath asked, his voice curious and doubtful. Vorith was silent for a moment, then slowly spoke, his voice filled with bitterness and sorrow. "The will to survive, and a certain madness in battle." The decision to negotiate peace was made, a decision heavy, humiliating, and bitter. The Zargonian Empire, the mightiest empire in the galaxy, had to bow before a small, backward planet. The Zargonian delegation, led by Admiral Valerius, departed for Earth, carrying with them a plea for peace and unprecedented concessions. Beneath Earth's sky, at the desolate desert outpost, smoke still smoldered, the acrid scent of gunpowder and burnt ozone stinging the nostrils. Sergeant Hammer Harrison and Corporal Davies, along with other outstanding Earth soldiers, stood amidst the ruins, watching the Zargonian delegation's dropship land. "Well, Davies," Hammer said, smirking, a half-smile tinged with weariness but still betraying pride. "Looks like the Zargis finally crawled here to surrender." Davies chuckled, spitting a mouthful of saliva onto the sand. "Bet they brought a mountain of gold, silver, and jewels to buy their lives, huh?" "Not gold and silver, Davies." Hammer shook his head, his gaze distant towards the horizon where red dust clouds still billowed. "They brought something far more valuable. They brought the admission of defeat." The drop ship's hatch opened, the Zargonian delegation emerged, their demeanor tense, anxious, and faces cast down. Leading them was Admiral Valerius, the commander of the once mighty Imperial fleet, the one who had spread terror across the galaxy, now walking heavily, as if carrying the weight of defeat and humiliation on his shoulders. He approached Sergeant Hammer, the Earth soldier representing the civilization that had just defeated his empire. Valerius stopped in front of Hammer, bowing deeply, his voice dry, trembling. We are here to negotiate peace. The Zargonian Empire acknowledges the strength and resilience of humanity. We are willing to accept all of your terms." Hammer smirked, his steely blue-gray eyes locked onto the Zargonian admiral's red, bloodshot eyes, his voice nonchalant yet commanding. "Our terms are simple. First, withdraw your entire fleet from Earth's orbit. Second, from this day forward, no Zargonian warships are allowed to come near the solar system. And third, never come back." Valerius did not hesitate, nodding in acceptance of all those humiliating conditions. The Zargonian Empire, the mightiest in the galaxy, had to bow down to a small, backward planet, to a civilization they had once scorned and underestimated. It was an unimaginable victory, an unforgettable humiliation for the Zargonian Empire. The Shadow Fleet, once a symbol of the Zargonian Empire's might and dominance, now sullenly weighed anchor, departing Earth's orbit, carrying with them deep emotional wounds and terror at humanity's hidden power. This disastrous invasion delivered a fatal blow to the Empire's prestige and power, ushering in an era of unprecedented decline and chaos. A resounding victory belonged to Earth, a victory no one had expected, a victory valiant, heroic, and brimming with the spirit of humanity. Fuck yeah! Across the green and blue planet, from magnificent metropolises to remote rural areas, people cheered, celebrating the historic triumph. Earth soldiers, the unsung heroes who had fought and sacrificed to protect their planet, were hailed as gods. At the desolate desert outpost, Sergeant Hammer Harrison lit a fragrant cigar, looking up at the clear blue sky, watching the Zargonian ships gradually disappear beyond the cosmic horizon. Davies stood beside Hammer, clapping him on the shoulder, bursting into laughter. "See, Hammer? I told you! The Zargis would crawl all the way here to beg for mercy sooner or later." Hammer smirked, a smile playing on his lips as he replied, "Yeah, Davies. I thought so too. But you know what, Davies?" he said, his voice thoughtful, his gaze distant towards the vast cosmos. "Do you think we've taught those Zargis a lesson they'll never forget?" Davies laughed again, his laughter echoing in the silent desert expanse. "A lesson they'll never forget? I bet they'll have nightmares about our Browning M2s for as long as their rotten empire lasts." Both soldiers burst into hearty laughter, their voices echoing in the boundless desert, mingling with the sound of wind and sand and the victorious cheers of their comrades. This victory was not just a mere military triumph, but a glorious victory of spirit, will, and human resilience. Earth, from that day on, would no longer be an insignificant, forgotten planet on the fringes of the galaxy. It had become a symbol, a beacon of freedom and independence, a stern warning to all tyrannical invading forces in the vast universe: never, ever underestimate humanity. For when pushed to the brink, we will fight like mad lions, and we will win in the most insane way possible, in the most humanity, fuck yeah, way imaginable. The galaxy, after the Earth War, had truly changed. The Zargonian Empire weakened, its prestige vanished into thin air. Other empires in the galaxy began to watch out, wary of humanity's hidden power. News of Earth's earth-shattering victory spread throughout the cosmos, becoming a legend, a modern-day fairy tale of bravery, solidarity, and the strength of human will. And in some far corner of the vast universe, tales of Earth's machine gun victory, of Sergeant Hammer, Corporal Davies, and the valiant Earth soldiers, became immortal, a living testament to the undying humanity, fuck yeah! Spirit, resounding forever in the boundless universe and endless time.